traffic that sell drugs among politicians in high-level parties that also allow, if I'm allowed to recall the name of Jeffrey Epstein. These are all systems to guarantee in the U.S. for the cycle since drugs enter the United States territory, and it's good to say that the fentanyl that arrives in the U.S. from Mexico, it all enters through legal ports. Once the drugs enter the United States, once it is transported and distributed through these different chains of gangs and truckers, the money is laundered in the banks. Look at this data as well from the yearly World Drug Report of the United Nations. Organized crime generates $1.6 billion, of which drug trafficking, we have already seen this, takes the second place in the list of illegal activities with a figure over $476 billion in a year.
Esto representa el 0.8% del PIB.
This represents 0.8% of the GDP of the U.S. economy. And this is not said by Venezuela. It is said by the international organizations specialized on the subject. The size of money that is laundered in criminal activities and drug trafficking in the United States is equivalent, and we can see the whole illegal activity, 2.7% of the U.S. GDP. You can imagine the size. Venezuela knows this, that we are in a process of progressive recovery with self-sacrifice, where each point of the GDP is a pride. There is very quick, thanks to the illicit activity of drug trafficking. Now, what are the connections? How is this money laundered? 57% of suspicious activities of money laundering on fentanyl is carried out through traditional banking operations. It will be easier for the United States to face and persecute money laundering in the United States than to send ships to attack a nation of peace, a people of peace, as it is Venezuela, unless their intentions are others, which are not to fight the illegal traffic of drugs. But if they truly wanted to face it, they have so many tools in their own countries to tackle money laundering. They have so many possibilities with health policies to heal their population that die due to overdose because there's no one to attend to them with rehab policies. And I would say, from the economic point of view, it's cheaper and more efficient that you face this, the money laundering, that you have policies against drug consumption, that this craziness and dangerous show that they are doing in Venezuela and the Caribbean. Other data, U.S. banks receive historic fines after admitting their involvement with money laundering, after being involved with drug trafficking activities. The United States has become the world epicenter of drug trafficking money laundering. That's why it is a very relevant country when it comes to drug trafficking. A former director of the U.S. said that in 2009, this is what I just said, that drug trafficking money saved the world of the financial crisis in 2009. There's a lot of hypocrisy, of double standards, political instrumentalization, geopolitics in this issue to invade, to bring about regime change in countries that are not aligned. So I believe the United States has a lot of aspects on which it must come truthful. If they really want, as they say, they are very concerned for U.S. citizens that died due to overdose. Only in year 2024, over 110,000 people died due to overdose. If they truly care, they have a lot of tasks to carry out within the United States to correct and solve. A lot. They do not need to see to other places because today the United States is the most relevant country when it comes to drug trafficking. It is the most relevant country for its financial system, its logistic networks, for the weapons that are provided to the drug cartels of Mexico. In 10 years, estimates $2 million, $3 million of illegal arms trade with drug cartels in Mexico. Think about what it meant, Plan Colombia 1, Plan Colombia 2. Over $100 million in taxes, in U.S. taxes that were directed to fight and eliminate illegal crops of drugs in Colombia. And it turns out that they turned into the main producer of cocaine in the world. From its genesis, this story of fighting drug trafficking has been filled with double standards and lies. That's what allowed them to put U.S. military bases in Colombian state, neighbors of Venezuela. But it's not that they did not burn one single leaf of coca leaf, it's that they extended the hectares of crop of coca leaves. Thanks to the role of the United States in Plan Colombia 1, Plan Colombia 2. Thanks to that, they made of Colombia the first producer of cocaine in the world. So we also have the report of the DEA. I don't like to quote the DEA due to the large connections that the DEA has with drug cartels, but it's an official document from the United States. In that official document of the United States, they acknowledge what I just said, that money laundering happens mainly in the United States. We only know this in the financial system. They also talk about that they make use of cryptocurrencies, of casinos, of the real estate agent sector. That's what the DEA says. They admit that the drug cartels from Mexico operate in all 50 states of the United States, and they have identified all the routes that are used to trade the drugs, but they don't have the capacity, the resources to fight it. There's a report that talks about the death due to overdose. Who are the ones responsible for the death of overdose? Are the Venezuelans that have nothing to do with this horrible history. And if we had something to do, it would be, and if we had to do something to that, we would have activated all the mechanisms of cooperation, of aid, on how to help each other internationally, as we do with some European countries here in the Caribbean, for example. So we must put things where they belong. It is proven Venezuela is not a country relevant regarding drug trafficking. Why? Because Venezuela is a country free of crops. is not a country that
no es un país
hoards
de tránsito
drugs.
de
It's
drogas,
not a country
porque
for drug
el que intenta
transit,
pasar por acá
because who tries to go through our territory
sabe que
knows
va a ser condenado
that
y
is
perseguido.
going to be condemned and
Ya más de
persecuted.
402
Over
aeronaves
402
de narcotráfico han sido
drug trafficking
derribadas
planes have been
por los
shot
organismos de
down
seguridad venezolanos.
by the security agencies of Venezuela.
¿Cuántos laboratorios
How many
destruidos?
laboratories have been destroyed?
Pero así, que llega un laboratorio, inmediatamente destruido.
As soon as a laboratory is found, it's immediately destroyed. They don't have time to drink
Igual para el
soda.
tránsito.
The same thing happens for
No es un
transport.
país de tránsito
It's not a country
de
of
droga para
transport
los
of
Estados Unidos,
drugs
no lo es.
towards the United States.
Y no es un país donde el consumo sea un problema de
And it's
salud
not a
pública.
country where drug consumption is an issue of public health.
Es una referencia
But what
internacional,
is Venezuela?
antihegemónica,
Venezuela is
imperialista,
an international
anticolonialista,
reference,
que como
anti-colonialist,
bien
anti-hegemonic,
fue determinado durante el gobierno de Barack Hussein Obama, la
that,
política exterior de Venezuela es una amenaza a la seguridad nacional
that
de
during
los
the
Estados Unidos.
Obama administration, the foreign policy of Venezuela was determined to be a threat for the United States. That's where the story began in this
2014, bloqueo
timetable. In 2014, economic blockade. 2015, the Obama decree that considers Venezuela a threat to national security, to be able years later to be able to do all this, to be able to intervene in the country. Then came the declaration of President Maduro and other high officials as drug traffickers. They weave their narratives, the false narrative, the same that, just like they say that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq to intervene, to invade, to steal their oil. That's the only truth. Because hundreds of reports specialized on the issue determined that there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, that it was an invention to invade Iraq. And just as that was invented, or false flags events, dozens in history of humanity, all with one purpose: intervention, invasion, occupation, regime change, for geopolitical reasons. For geopolitical reasons, that is what is happening right now. Then they take a criminal organization that was strongly faced here in Venezuela, as it was Tren Aragua, and then they designate it as an international, transnational organization. Then they blow up a ship. These are commodities to violate international law, because the true problem that humanity has today is that the United States and its satellite governments undermine and violate international law. They do not respect anything. There's no limits. Lies is the only imposition, and go across the planet as if it belongs to them. This year, remember, the law of foreign enemy, a very old law, no longer being used. They bring it about, take away the dust, and then they apply it to consider Venezuela a foreign enemy. Then Venezuela has nothing to do with the death of its citizens due to overdose. But when we go and review the routes, we know cocaine does not go through Venezuela. It's through the Pacific. Those ships that today aim to threaten Venezuela should be on the Pacific if they truly wanted to face drug trafficking and prevent the drug and cocaine to arrive in the United States. They should be there. And a mistaken concept also, which is to use warships to face a common crime. Well, it seems that they're having a GPS issue, because they are where they are not supposed to be. They should calibrate their GPS and go to the Pacific if they don't want cocaine to arrive in the United States. When we go to the countries destination countries of cocaine and its mere images, Venezuela is also not there.
No es un país de tránsito, de fuente de tránsito ni de recepción. Venezuela. Cero. No existe Venezuela.
Venezuela does not exist on this issue.
¿Quién es hoy el principal
Who is today
exportador de cocaína?
the main exporter of cocaine in the world?
No es Venezuela.
It is not Venezuela. Once again, they are mistaken. It is Ecuador. Marco Rubio was recently in Ecuador. I don't know if he went there to check on their business, what he went to do there, but Ecuador is the main exporter of cocaine in the world today. It is in the last report of the Customs International Organization. Why Ecuador? Because it's the main exporter of banana to the world, and it has beautiful routes and amazing containers to put the cocaine shipment. Their president, they say that to Ecuador 70% of cocaine goes through their country that goes to the world, and this is said by their own president. He is also partner of one of the banana companies that ships cocaine to Europe and the United States. The same story with Álvaro Uribe, partner of drug traffickers. The same as Juan Guaidó, pictures with drug traffickers. That's why for them Venezuela is very important. Firstly, due to its geographic position, they need the Venezuelan territory to transport drugs. And in all the conspiracies to overthrow the legitimate government of Venezuela, drug trafficking from Colombia and Ecuadorian drug trafficking and the Albanese mafia that came to care for the export of cocaine in Ecuador are behind. You see that the story is another one. You were told a story that was not real. The true story is very different. So here you have it. Cocaine and banana industry in Ecuador. See how they both increase. Seizures of cocaine in banana shipments. The main Ecuador, a drug state. That's why the electoral fraud in Ecuador. They cannot render the political spaces. They are under control of drug trafficking. That is why President Petro today, his life is threatened due to drug traffickers. And that is why they want to overthrow the government of Venezuela. They want to change it like this. To control this territory and surrender it to drug trafficking. We knew this following the agreements of Maria Corina Machado and Juan Guaidó with drug trafficking groups in Colombia, and this has come out to the public. We cannot forget that Operation Herion, where drug trafficking from Colombia had a very important participation. They need Venezuela for drug trafficking. An extraordinary business where 85% of the profits remain in the United States, and they need Venezuela for its energy reserves, for its oil, gas, for its mineral reserves, iron, for its water reserves. They are desperate, and that is why President Nicolás Maduro has activated the Venezuelan people and the Bolivarian militia, men and women, regardless of age. We are on alert to defend the peace of the country, to defend our territorial integrity. Yesterday, President, as Commander-in-Chief of our Bolivarian National Armed Forces, rose the Operation Readiness, increasing to over 25,000 military personnel to safeguard the binational area, so drug trafficking has more pressure to not come to our territory, because we need to guarantee peace, and above all, to dismantle these lies.
Otro tipo de drogas.
And other kinds of drugs, amphetamines, methamphetamines. See, where is Venezuela? Where is Venezuela? Completely white. Those synthetic drugs are not produced nor come through Venezuela either. Zero cocaine, zero methamphetamines, zero fentanyl, zero heroin. Venezuela is not here on the heroin chart. Venezuela is not a relevant issue when it comes to illegal drug trafficking. Congratulations to our people, our security agencies that constantly face this international crime. Now, how can the cartels of the soles exist if there is no drugs here, if there is no organization? Is another propaganda operation against Venezuela to criminalize the legitimate government of Venezuela. But we always say it. We always say that a lie has a very short life. I go back to the DEA report, and I don't like to quote it, but it's an official report from the United States. The 2024-2025 report does not mention Venezuela. How could they if we have nothing to do with it? Nor they mention the fake Los Soles cartel. What does this DEA highlights as routes? Central America, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. Venezuela is not here. And most of its seizures in the United States were in California, confirming that the main route of drugs are in the Pacific. You must calibrate and fix GPS, not Venezuela, the Pacific. If you truly want to be efficient and put an end to the consumption of cocaine and other drugs in the United States. Other aspects touched by this report points to Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia as the main producers of cocaine. We know this. Venezuela is not shown here either. They also mentioned Mexico, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Puerto Rico, again Dominican Republic as key routes towards the United States. Venezuela is not mentioned here either. In conclusion, Venezuela is not pointed out as a producer or distributor or a transit country or involved in money laundering in the DEA report. Do you realize that it's a great false, a great lie? It's all lies that with the only intent of attacking Venezuela to secure a geographic territory, to make it easy for drug trafficking routes, and to seize the immense energy reserve of a country. And they believe that undermine our Bolivarian internationalism, anti-imperialist, anti-colonialist spirit of love for the people and of profound love for international legality. Legacy of the doctrines of our father Simon Bolivar. This is the truth of Venezuela. Enough is enough, so many lies. Enough of trash talks, I should say, because it comes to a point where citizens get tired of so much trash, and we are angry in the face of such trash, and we are ready for the call that President made, calling to the enlistment of our Bolivarian militia. We are ready to defend Venezuela, to defend peace, to defend the national territorial integrity, and to defend the future of our sons and daughters, to defend social happiness and the economic growth. We are ready. Venezuela is ready. And we wait that all these lies come to an end and that the U.S. government acts seriously and restrain in full fulfillment
internacional.
with the law of its own country, international law. Thank you very
Bien,
much.
aquí escuchamos declaraciones de la vicepresidenta ejecutiva de la República, doctora Delcy Rodriguez, que presentaba documentos que